Fresh off of an NBA Finals run in 2022, the Boston Celtics come into the 2022-2023 season with a lot of high hopes, expecting honestly to go back. If I was a Celtics fan, I would be a bit disappointed next year if we didn't make it back to the Finals, bringing back most of our core, and if not, improving it. Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, the best young duo in the NBA right now, and you can't prove me otherwise. I mean, they just went to the NBA Finals. They bring in Malcolm Brogdon, who is a huge addition, exactly what they need. Gallinari was also exactly what they need, and then he decides to tear his ACL playing in Europe. So that's very unfortunate. At first, it was a meniscus tear, and then they were just kind of like, wrong. He tore his ACL. He's out for the year. The defense of Marcus Smart and the Time Lord should be very good and enough to keep them as that number one defense. But how will Al Horford play this year? Is he going to start to regress? That's what Gallo was brought in for, to kind of take some minutes off of him. What will Brad Stevens do? And how will Coach Ime Udoka manage the lineups this year? And, can he keep them on that path where the second half of the season, not the first half at all? We're going to be talking about all that and more in today's video. Make sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button. Now let's go ahead and get started looking at the additions to this squad. And it starts off with Malcolm Brogdon. They needed a point guard who could control the pace of the game and help them not commit so many turnovers. Jayson Tatum literally just set an NBA playoff record for the most turnovers. That's not exactly a record you want to hold, but he did. So they bring in Brogdon, more of a point guard type guy. He is going to be running as a sixth man, but I think, in that closing lineup, they'll probably find a spot for him on the court. Danilo Gallinari, who we just talked about, they signed, I believe, a 2-year deal over from technically the Spurs, but also the Hawks, because the Spurs just bought him out. Spurs legend Danilo Gallinari did a lot for that franchise. So he, out for the year, but he will be back next year. That kind of hurts because he was going to take a lot of the pressure off Horford. Another big that can stretch the floor. Now it's just back to Horford because, Robert Williams cannot stretch the floor whatsoever. J.D. Davidson, a rookie they bring in, showed some flashes, dropped 28 in one summer league game, but really that's it. So maybe he fights his way and earns a roster spot. I doubt it, though. That's really the only 3 additions they made. The losses, Aaron Nesmith going over to the Indiana Pacers. A lottery pick, so kind of disappointing to already have to trade him, 3 years into his NBA career, but it happens. He was one of the main parts of that Brogdon trade, as well as that first-round pick. And then Daniel Tice as well going over to the Pacers, as well as, like I said, that first-round pick. So that's basically all they lose is the package for Malcolm Brogdon. The X-Factors here for this Celtics squad this year, if Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown can continue to play together, and if they can stay hot. Because like we said, last year, first part of the season, they were 500. People were talking about, you need to trade one of them at the deadline. Now, coming off of a finals run, can they stay hot? Because they got hot the second half of the season. They both started playing much, much better. So if they can stay hot, that's going to be a huge X factor for this Celtics squad. Because obviously, if not, they're going to be much, much worse. And in probably a pretty bad place if these two guys can't stay hot. And now, who is going to help Al Horford, who continues to age? Like we said, Danilo Gallinari was brought in to take some of the pressure off of Al Horford. Now, who is going to do that? Is it Grant Williams? I don't think so. Does Brad Stevens make another move before the season starts to now bring in some more power forward depth? I don't know. It really stinks that Gallinari does go out with an injury. That really hurts their bench. They were probably my favorites to come out of the East with him healthy. Now, I think the Bucks have a slight edge. Maybe even the Nets if they can play together well. I know that kind of sounds crazy. Defensively, they will have Marcus Smart. They will have Robert Williams, 2 of the best defenders in the NBA. Marcus Smart actually the best defender in the NBA according to the votes last year. So if these two guys can continue to play defense, really, that defense stepped it up, and they rode that number 1 defense into the NBA Finals. Can Coach Ime Udoka continue the magic that they started to show at the end of the year last year? And then Malcolm Brogdon, can he come in and be a true point guard for this squad? Because like I said, the depth and the backup point guard spot was not good. Peyton Pritchard was really the only point guard on the roster last year. So can Brogdon come in and help fix that from day one? I think he can. I think he's a very underrated player, and I think he's just the guy to do the job. Now let's take a look at the lineups here Like I said, Malcolm Brogdon will be coming off the bench, so they will be running back the same 5 that took them to the NBA playoffs, now, or to the NBA championship. Now, I'm not saying that Brogdon will not be playing any closing minutes. That is completely false. Down the stretch, maybe he takes some closing time away from Horford. Maybe he takes some away from Marcus Smart. Yeah, I don't know how Udoka is going to do it, but he's going to need to be out there at times during the big moments. But otherwise, you've got Marcus Smart at point guard, Jaylen Brown at the 2, Jayson Tatum at the 3, Al Horford at the 4, Robert Williams at the 5. Again, a very good defensive unit. Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum can hold their own on the wings. You got the Defensive Player of the Year at the point guard spot. Robert Williams, fantastic defender. And then Al Horford, getting a little up there in age, but he can still hold his own at power forward. So I think that's a very, very good starting lineup. The bench, like I said, without Gallo, significantly weaker. Now you've really only got Malcolm Brogdon and Derek White. That's scary. If Gallo's there, you can run Grant Williams at the backup 3, Derek White at the backup 2, and you can really have a strong 8 guys, 9 if you count Grant Williams. But now you've only really got 7 quality guys that you can play in the big moments and that you can trust. Again, after that Derek White trade last year, I know it wasn't just Derek White that made all the difference. He's not some MVP candidate, but still, after the Derek White trade, things really turned around in Boston, and that had to do with a couple of other moves as well, but still, Derek White, don't take him for granted. Malcolm Brogdon hopefully can be the answer at that point guard spot, but this bench is kind of weak for the Celtics. Now you also have J.D. Davidson. Can't forget about him. He's really the only young guy on this roster that they've brought in over the last couple of years, and maybe he can compete for a roster spot again. He was a 5-star coming out of high school, so that counts for something. The expectations for next year. I expect Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum to be the Paul George and Kawhi Leonard of the East. That is the expectation for them going forward. They've hit the NBA Finals. They've reached the pinnacle, so now it is time to back it up and prove that they can do it again. Time Lord, Marcus Smart, they're going to have to continue to play very good defense. I think they will, and I think that's 2 very elite defenders that you have that can really help you out. Al Horford, Danilo Gallinari, couple of veteran. Well, Gallo was supposed to come in to help Horford, so now Horford's going to have to shoulder a lot more of the load, so that's going to stink for him, but hopefully he can keep playing well even at his old age. Malcolm Brogdon can come in. I expect him to be the point guard that they were missing last year, and I expect them to have a lot less turnovers. Hopefully Luke Cornett and the rest of that bench can work it out and can play better. I'm not really counting on it, though, if I'm a Celtics fan, so we'll really see what Ime Udoka is made of this year. With that being said, that's going to be it for today's video. Let me know your thoughts on the Celtics down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to the like button and the subscribe button if you did enjoy at any point. And with all that being said, thanks so much for watching today's video.